Yo, what's popping? You are now watching J.U.K Sports Show. I am your host, King Ralph, here with the homie and my co-host, the homie Kyle. What's popping with you, bro?
Hey, what's good? What's good? It's good to be back for another week of the Juke Boys Sports Show, man. Got back from this wonderful Thanksgiving. Hopefully, everyone had a good Thanksgiving out there. Ate lots of turkey, went into a food coma, the whole nine, et cetera. Watched some football games. There were some good
Yeah,
football games. So, yeah, I'm doing good, man. How about you?
doing well, man. You hear my voice. Um, it is what it is, man. We out here,
Mhm.
we're still rocking. The show must go on. I lost my voice. I was a little bit under the weather over the past week. I did take a COVID test. I am negative, so I wasn't like out here trying to get nobody sick. Hopefully, I didn't get nobody sick. Um, but the show must go on. Before we get going, send a shout out to the sponsor. If you want to do any podcast, I want you watching photo shoots, music videos, call the number on the bottom of the screen, 707 Fitboxer. And make sure you
Right.
follow all of our socials. You see up on the, I think on my top right, might be your top right, not sure how you're watching it, but it's the J.U.K Sports Show Instagram page at J.U.K Sports Show. Make sure you follow me on all my socials, TikTok, Instagram, as well as Twitch, and I want to say there's one more. I always mess it up, but just
All of
yeah,
them.
pretty much all of them. Add an underscore if you're getting on Twitter,
Mhm.
and then make sure you go on Instagram at the dot House of Hoops for all
Yes, yes, yes.
NBA analysis. Hey, one thing I wanted to say before, if you want to get you can get League Pass today for $50 for the rest of the year
Mm.
for one device. They have it half off. So I'm gonna partake when I get out of here, so I can stay up on game. Cause
Yeah, definitely.
Bo been out there hooping, bro.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned League Pass because they were doing I think NBA 2K23 thing. Like if you bought that, you could get like a discount or something like that. I don't know if that's still live going on, but we had that going on too. So yeah,
It is me and my mom was talking about it because I always try to watch my Bulls.
right.
It was like I was like $50 for that, and I can
Mhm.
watch all the teams.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
just get it on one device though, but you have until the end of tonight in order to do that. So I'm definitely gonna partake when we get done here. But go right into the show. We got the 2 minute drill. I hate to say this. Go blue, I guess. Um, Michigan, they obliterate Ohio State in a high profile 2 versus 3.
Yeah,
They somehow were able to get the victory. Not somehow. They ran the
they
football
beat the
down our throats.
yeah.
They beat the brakes off of us.
Yep.
So did Harbaugh officially put himself in top five conversation of college football coaches?
I believe that he did. John Harbaugh, excuse me, not John Harbaugh, because he has shout out to the twin brother. He coaches my team, but Jim Harbaugh, I believe that he did put himself in the top five because this is a big win. This is a win where we look at a rivalry where the last time they were able to beat them, I believe, was it they had back to back, excuse me, because they had uh, the Shaq. I said the Shaq and Kobe Lakers, 1999 to 2000. So for you to be able to actually break a trend there, and then the fashion in which that they won the game, Ralph, being able to run the ball, be able to control time of possession against that Ohio State team, which I said they had some underrated linebacker play there. In our last episode, we all talk about we talk about the quarterback and CJ Stroud, right? The ability to hold them under, like 30, 35 points. So for them able to hold them under that, we talk about the wide receivers of Oklahoma State. And so coaching matters. Coaching is prevalent, guys, when you look at getting up for big games. And look, think about the games that Michigan had lost in the past. So for them to be able to beat Ohio State in the fashion that they have been, for them to actually have been in the college football playoff, I think that might be my mic. Give me a second.
You all good over there?
Yeah, I'm good. Can you hear me? Can you
Yeah,
hear me?
yeah,
All right. So
yeah.
I just took my mic out, guys. I'm sorry. Um, It might be time for a new one. But for him to be able to get them to a college football playoff as well, and then the next step up is getting that championship. So obviously they rose in the rankings. They're going to rise in the rankings. So I believe that right now, as currently stated, I would put him in my top five.
So I'd put him in my top five, but he'd be at five
The bond, exactly. But he's
because
not
like he's not
saving.
Nick Saban. He's not Dabo
Mhm.
Sweetie. Dabo Sweetie's having a down year, and he has two losses. Like
Yeah, still,
right,
yeah.
right. So like, but then you start to have the Lincoln Rileys, and then after that, that's where you can say he's in that
Mhm.
he's in that echelon. He's in that tier. He's in there with the Ryan Day. Like he defeated
Yeah.
a Hugh Freeze, who was a great offensive mind. But like what's the? I think it was a Frost that took over at Nebraska, but I don't think it worked out. So like
Mhm.
he's in that echelon. But prior to last year, he was on a five. He lost 5 games in a row to Ohio State. So like to then, and plus they were talking about his record going into last season about the top tier of the Big Ten. His he was struggling against Michigan State. He was struggling against Wisconsin. He was struggling against Ohio State. So like now that he has 2 years of success, for the sake of not really knowing another like coach, really I'd put him at six because I would put Prime in the top five. But like,
Okay, I love that. Yeah.
but then at the same time, it's like I really couldn't tell you anybody that's in a Power Five school, and we'll talk
Mhm.
about Prime in a later subject. But up next, Odell Beckham has found himself in the news a little bit, but we're not talking about that. It's his turn. It's about that time. Who's gonna sign him? Can he help a team? So in that sense of the word, who is his best fit?
I'm gonna be completely honest, and don't take this, guys, as me being biased, but we've been talking about just teams in general, and this is my personal opinion, and I've seen the 5 teams that he put down there, but I believe got to go to Baltimore, man. They got to go to Baltimore. I understand. Like, look, the offensive coordinator should have been gone. We get that, but at this point, based off of some of the things that we know, when we think of need and necessity, they need a guy who is reliable hands catcher, a reliable catcher of the football that can beat single coverage, right? Can take over the top of the defense because they've been struggling in that area. It needs a veteran presence in that locker room. I know they got Deshaun Jackson, but he's past his prime. But shout out to him for that 62-yard reception that he had. But he's always good for at least one of those. But we know,
Yo, he made
Ralph,
me
that
so mad on that play. I
yeah,
was like, bro, why'd you leave your feet?
right. We're getting some kind of static. You hear that? Or is it just on my end or your end?
I heard it a little bit, but I don't hear it right now.
Okay, yeah, because I unplugged my mic, so I don't know what's going on, guys. So, yeah. So he said that he's against like the turf, right? Because of the injuries, right? We look at the turf injuries. So if you go to Baltimore, you're not playing on turf, unlike some of those dome stadiums and some of the other stadiums. So you're not playing on turf. You're playing for a playoff contending team or a team that's in the playoffs who would like to win a Super Bowl, and you would actually put them over the top. Hollywood Brown, people say, well, what about the targets? Hollywood Brown was top 10 in targets last year, number 8, ahead of Jalen Waddle, ahead of Travis Kelsey, ahead of Brandon Cooks, ahead of Hunter Renfro, ahead of there's another guy on that list. But these are all like high profile receivers. Some of those guys are profile receivers, right? Jalen Waddle, Travis Kelsey. So he had 91 catches for 1,008 yards and 6 touchdowns, and that's with Lamar Jackson only playing 12 games. So you can't even use that excuse. The thing is, the Baltimore Ravens need Odell Beckham. Will he go there? That's yet to be seen. I feel like we're the dark horse team, but the Ravens are reactive and not proactive. But I will go with them. And then the other team, Ralph, for me, I would just real quick, I would say is the actually New York Giants. I think they proved that they could use an Odell Beckham in that game versus the Dallas Cowboys, and he already knows that city and money, all that kind of stuff. They're going to be the first team on his list. They can offer him the most money. So I like the Ravens and I like the New York Football Giants as the teams that I think would be the best fit for Odell.
I agree with the Ravens, man. I think that he gives them. We'll see how much does he still have that explosion of
Yeah.
speed to take a quick slant to the crib. But if he does, let's just say for the sake of the conversation, he still has that speed. he definitely helps that offense because he's able to take that type of route to the house.
Mhm.
And he was proven that he was able to show up in big moments during that playoff run. It just was a freak injury. So I think that I think I would agree with the Ravens. I actually do agree with the Cowboys
Cowboys. I like them too overall.
as another him being on the other side or even being in the slot between a Michael Gallup and a CD Lamb, as well
Mhm.
as being able to be put on the outside. I think that just gives them another weapon because that defense is playing at a high level. So that offense got to be able to put up points.
Yeah.
So I can agree with those two. I would prefer the Ravens so I can see Lamar get such a weapon at least
Yeah.
for this playoff run.
Just 1 year is all we ask, right? We've been
Yes,
saying it.
I'm
1
not even
year.
asking for 1 year, bro. This is gonna be like 8 games.
Right. Right. Exactly. And that's what they need. That's what they need. They need him for the playoff push because you traded away Hollywood Brown and you didn't replace him.
Right.
So, yeah. All right.
And so up next, I brought his name up.
Mhm.
And Hugh Freeze is the new man in Auburn. Is he the
Yeah.
man for the job?
The question for that, to answer that question quickly, man, is do you believe he can coach? Do you believe he can coach at that level? Do you believe that he can compete with the Nick Sabans of the world? Right. And then when you think about it, he has beaten Nick Saban. He's
Twice.
beaten Nick Saban twice, right? How many people can say that he's beaten Nick Saban? I believe he was 34-15 at Liberty. I believe that the only issue with him is wherever he goes, questions, scandal, different things coming up. And as an athletic director, Ralph, you have to think about those things. You have to think about, um, character. You have to think about dysfunction and different things of that nature. We can look to another sport like the Brooklyn Nets and will that type of stuff linger. But in terms of coaching, I believe that he can coach. I believe anyone who can beat Nick Saban twice um, has an opportunity to continue to do it. You know what I'm saying? So to say he's the right guy for the job in terms of the options available out there, he might be the best fit. But I'm not sure.
Yeah, and like we'll talk about Dion and I
Yeah.
think that actually the no, once we get through the fast break segment, we're going to talk about him after that. So we'll talk about him in a second. But I think given who was actually available, because we'll see if Dion is actually available or not in the next couple months. I just think that he was probably the best fit. He is someone who has beaten Nick Saban when he was with Ole Miss in back to
Mhm.
back years. They say he was able to put Liberty on the map. They say he's an offensive guru in a sense, and it's been proven. I mean, he has two quarterbacks that are in the league right now, and they were good young quarterbacks. So we'll see what happens with their futures under his tutelage. But at the same time, it would have been one of those things where I would have loved to see Dion in a situation with a Power Five if he's going to leave,
Right,
because
right.
now Auburn has these amazing resources to where they could compete at a high level. And so it sucks to not see black quarterback or black coaches get this opportunity. Cadillac had got put into that role, who was a former player, a high level player. So
Yeah.
he would have had that recognition within that community to be able to pull some of those players in. I personally believe so. But he's staying under um, he's staying with that he's gonna be in that coaching staff going forward. So we'll see what happens with that next. Like I mentioned before, we on a fast break, so we going quick. Who's your most underrated NBA player?
My most underrated player is actually going to be Jacob Podol of the San Antonio Spurs, big man center. So I thought about going with a guard, and I thought about even going with someone who had star recognition now, like a Shea Gilgeous Alexander, who better be on the All Star team this year. I believe it's going to be a loaded backcourt yet again, right? We have so many stars, but I think Jacob Podol. I looked at him. I looked at guys like Zubac. I tried to go for not even tried. I just looked at some of the big men because I feel like they don't get talked about a lot. And we talk about so much of the Embiids and all that kind of stuff. And so I got to go with Jacob Podol, a double-double machine. He's not really someone who's going to stretch the floor so much with the shooting, but he can defend. He can rebound really good, Ralph, and he's efficient from the field. And he was integral in the start that the Spurs had early to the season. So I'm gonna go with Jacob Poeltl. He's like a nice little big guy that you can plug in for about 25 minutes a game and get you a double double. So he's my most underrated player. 7'1" too. So I like him.
And at first, I was going to be funny, but also at the same time, it is one of those things that make you think. I actually do think that LeBron is being very underrated.
I like this. Go ahead. Go ahead. I like this.
But really, you mentioned who I was going to say. But for the sake of the argument, but for the sake of the argument, I actually am going to say LeBron, bro, because I do think that LeBron puts a. People are always saying like they always like you. These are the people that you know really don't know what they're talking about when they start talking about trading LeBron, and it's like you'll see how bad that team is if you trade LeBron. Like the team is not good even with LeBron there, but at the same time, if you left it where it's just Russ, AD, and some role players, they go from possibly being in the playoffs to I truly believe they'll be getting a top 5 pick.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but my real answer is Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. I just don't see how someone this good playing this well at such a high level in 3 seasons in a row doesn't get at least one playoff. I mean, not one playoff berth, but at least an All-Star berth.
Yeah.
And so, look, these are his numbers: 31, 6-4 against the Pelicans, 38-7 against the Bulls, 31, 7-11 against the Nuggets, 35-7 against the Knicks, against the Wizards, 42, 6-7, against Boston, 37, 4-8, and then another 37 piece with 8 assists and 5 rebounds against the Knicks. And these are all within like his last 10 to 12 games.
Yeah, I agree.
And so I think that like at this, he's playing at such a high level that you just gotta be you just a hater if you don't think that he's playing if he's at least an all-star at this point.
And that's what someone when they invested draft lottery in a guy like a Chet Holmgren who got injured. We talk about Josh Giddey, but I mean Shea Gilgeous-Alexander is clear cut the best player on that team. A team that is years removed from the Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook years removed from the Russell Westbrook and Paul George years removed from the Paul George, Russ, and Carmelo years. So I believe we got to give a guy like Shea Gilgeous-Alexander all the credit in the world. I definitely agree with you on that, bro. And Dejounte Murray, shout out to him.
Oh, facts.
Needs to be on the defensive team, but anyway.
And we talked about it on the Eton Thomas podcast. They were talking about Kyrie Irving, and it got me to thinking: is the NBA really as progressive as they portray themselves to be?
I'm gonna let you start that one off because I know you got some good comments on that one and all.
And this is my thing. I think that like the NBA always applauds themselves as they're progressive. They get out in front of situations, and I think that the way that they handled this Kyrie Irving situation was one of those things where it kind of makes you squint your eyes a little bit.
Yeah,
and it was like I've never seen them so like kind of all over the place in a sense, where like it took you 2-3 days to suspend Kyrie. Then it was like before the NBA didn't even bring this down, but before the Nets could say anything, or before the Nets could suspend him, Adam Silver had already said, "I'm going to go have a conversation with him." But then it's like when you see this situation, it's like you start to hear when you hear so many people talk about what the tweet was. Well, did you see the movie?
Mm-hmm.
And most people didn't see the movie, or they went off of certain clips that were like popular from the movie. But then it's like when Eton Thomas broke it down, and I have not seen the movie, so I'm going based off of someone's word. So I'm a little bit contradictory in a sense. But stay with me for just a moment. So Eton Thomas breaks down certain parts of the movie. He said there's 2 parts. They quoted Hitler, which was like 2 to 5 minutes of a 3.5-hour documentary. And then it was another thing where you can take it to where it sounds like they're questioning the Holocaust, But I've seen the quote, and I think it's more so about the amount of people that died in the Holocaust, not the actual Holocaust not existing or happening at all. So I think it's like one of those things when we start to have the conversation of let's have the conversation. What did you have a problem with within this documentary? Because then at that point we can start to see start to gain some ground and have a real conversation. Because if you're just gonna say be based on those two things, throw the whole documentary out. Well, what about our history books that when we go to school it says Christopher Columbus discovered America? So should we just throw all of those books out there?
And we don't even celebrate Columbus Day.
Exactly. It's been turned into Indigenous People Day.
Yeah, exactly.
And so, I think that at this point, it's one of those things where you start to get, it's a little contradictory. Like, the NBA says they're progressive, and we as black people like to say that they are progressive, but it's like you're picking and choosing what topics and what situations and issues you want to be progressive with. And that's where I say that I'm gonna give him a 6.5 out of 10 on a progressive scale.
Yeah. I know. I actually echo those same sentiments. It's they're picking and choosing. They're being what's that word? There's always a word. I always have a word, right? But I mean, they're being picky and choosy. Selective. They're being very selective. And what they want to actually be progressive about. And I feel like what it is if they pick and choose and they want you to agree with a particular stance, or the way the media manipulates certain situations, kind of like the Kyrie Irving situation. It's like they're trying to sway the general public or the consumers of the NBA, the viewers of the NBA, or whoever, to side with a one particular stance. And I'm like, is that really fit into that mold that you're trying to push? So for me, I don't put them down to a 5, bro, based off of this whole entire ordeal and the length that the Kyrie Irving situation wound up being a part of. You know what I'm saying? So I think the WNBA is actually more progressive than the NBA, right?
Right.
And also we see how much solidarity and unity that they have over there compared to the NBA situation. So I'm going to give them a 5 out of 10, but I actually agree with you. I don't believe that they're as progressive as they say they are.
Yeah, and then to quote my boy, it's a little bit of a typo in there, but the fact that it's being talked about is a problem, and that's where it starts to. They brought this up on the Utah Thomas podcast. I think it's the rematch. I think it's called the rematch. They had Muhammad Amal Rauf. And Hodges were on there, and they were just talking about being blackballed in their situations and how it parallels to the Kyrie Irving situation. And so I think that they talked about, and it was like the fact that they're not even willing to have the conversation and it's being silenced before actually having the conversation.
Yeah.
Is the part where that's where you start to squint your eyes. You look at it as like, what is really going on here? What are we hiding? That you don't even want to have the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's some things that, like, the guy that I forget his name, the guy that did the documentary, he quoted philosophers. He went and did his research. So if he's presenting this research, where's your research to say that this is false?
Right.
And we just out here based on feelings saying, no, I don't like this. And that's where I think that the conversation can kind of get a little cloudy and a little murky, because now we're having a conversation based on how we feel rather than the facts of the nature. And that's where I have an issue with you. To bring it all back to it, I have an issue with the NBA or even Josiah and how he jumped all the way out there, because it's like, what are we really doing? Like, if it's so bad, if this documentary is so bad, why are we not upset with Amazon? Why are we still partnering with Amazon? NFL, why on Thursday, I can watch Thursday football games on Amazon Prime Video.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's even like you go on, you get on 2K. Now I know that 2K doesn't necessarily represent the NBA, but it still represents the NBA. So
Yeah.
there's things that you can access with Amazon on 2K. So if
Mhm.
2K and Amazon is or if what Kyrie is saying that's so bad, why are we not have any type of heat toward Amazon?
Yeah,
Shout out
yeah.
to shout out
Amazon.
to the comment. I need some of that same heat. Keep that
Mhm.
same energy.
Same energy. Yeah, I agree.
And for the sake of the conversation, we gonna move on. We gonna move along,
Move
move
on.
along.
Move on down the road.
So my man, speaking of move on down the road,
Mhm.
and Klay Thompson been out here hooping
Yes, yes.
at a very high level. I
Yeah.
know it's been he had like a 40-point outburst against the Rockets, but he's still balling
Hmm.
and doing his thing. Have they changed the tide? Are the Warriors still a legit title contender?
Yes, the Warriors. I was actually trying to pull up my notes because even though some of these I'm trying to actually pull but you know how. Anyway, I'm just gonna go off the dome on that one because I had some cool notes I
Yep.
wanted to actually spit out about the Warriors. But yeah, the Warriors are a legit title contender, and with all due respect, because I believe I had them in the NBA the NBA championship this year, the finals. As long as that system's there, as long as Steph Curry pumps bread. I mean, I said bread, air through these lungs. I mean, he's probably making a lot of bread, you know, but and they should be making a lot of bread, obviously. They're definitely going to be title contenders, and they're the favorites in the West. They're still the favorites in the West as coming into this season. That doesn't mean that other teams they don't have a chance to be beaten or whatever. But the defending champs, and until they get knocked out, they are the defending champs. But they went through a lull period. We talked about the absence of a Mike Brown. I mean, Mike Brown, exactly. Yeah, I always get him, Mike Brown, Mike Wooden, But anyway, Mike Brown, defense. We talked about the absence of Otto Porter in GP2, who has not played for the Portland Trailblazers, so he hasn't even played this season though. And the defensive identity, but now they seem to come around. Also, we got to look at their health, Ralph. Um, when they've had all their starters in their lineup, they were able to win those five games that they had all starters in their starting lineup. Also, Klay Thompson, I believe, because I can't pull up my notes, but he was averaging about 20 points per game, shooting, I think, like 44% from three or something like that. He was really shooting better from the field and from the 3-point percentage ever since that comment that Charles Barkley had made. So his offense has surged. Steph Curry been playing at a peak level. This is still his prime. And I mentioned this, I think, a year ago, last year, that Steph Curry, the 2021 season compared to his MVP season, Steph Curry is a person who's going to be playing at a high octane level for a long period of time. Draymond Green, obviously, he got that stupid technical from the ref that wasn't even warranted of a technical. And Steph Curry, in solidarity, decided, let me get a technical as well. And Steph never gets text, right? He's like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? So it's good to see the rapport. It's good to see the chemistry that some of us, should I say, thought may or may not have been fractured. It's like they're becoming whole as a unit. It's a long season. Me and you, we always talk about the season does not start to the All-Star break. We say this every year. It don't start to the All-Star break, bro. Because what goes up must come down. So that means the Jazz see it coming down. All them teams, I see it coming down, right? So in short, they are title contenders. I wanted to spit out some actual like cool stats I actually found during their little run or whatever. But yeah, I'm not worried about them. I think there's about three teams in the West that I really really like. Um, I really like, but right now they're still title contenders. I'm not going to say that they're like a non-playoff team or anything like that. So yeah,
I think until
yeah,
if you're coming off a year where you won,
mm-hmm.
until you just start to look like just really bad, i.e. the Rams. Because like the first 4 or 5 weeks, we were giving them the benefit of the doubt.
And conditioning, matters too. So
Right. So like once you get to like week 6, 7, 8, that's where it was like, all right, yeah, this ain't the year. So like for me, we're toward the end of the first month, pretty much.
yeah, like
So
22 games in 3 games.
so at this point, when we're approaching December, that's when you start to be like, all right, what are we really doing here? Are
Mm-hmm.
you legit? Are you faking? Is this cap? and whatnot. But like when you got Steph, who could go off for 40 any night without really even dribbling, Clay can do the same thing with way less dribbles.
Right.
Draymond running the point. You got Poole coming off the bench.
Mm-hmm.
Wiggins has showed that he can go for 30 on any night
I
while
like
playing
Wiggins.
tough defense.
Shout out to Wiggins.
So it's like you have so many with that ability to score and create buckets for others
Mm.
with those four players. I think that in the way that they play defense, that's the part that's going to come along because when you lose a Mike Brown who focuses on defense,
Yeah.
it's going to take. Then you lose a GP2, you lose some of those core bench players to where now Kamingas and Moody is looked upon to play bigger minutes.
Right.
I think that's where we start to see like them falling along the way. But I think they're finding their stride. I still got Memphis because I still feel like Memphis would know if John doesn't get hurt, the Warriors don't get out of the West,
Mm-hmm.
and so I'm still picking Memphis.
That's
But
that's that's a very nice team. I like that team. I do like that team.
but I do want to see a Warriors Memphis series in the playoffs.
I'm at this point, Ralph, where I'm like the West is just so. I think it's just fun for me. I really think it's fun. I would love to see that again. I think a lot of people want to see that. I really want to see the Pelicans. That's my particular team. I think the Pelicans can take them out. Eventually, I think it will come down to Zion versus Draymond in the low post down there. That Ingram Zion pick and roll with CJ on the wing. I don't know if there's any team that's built in the West to stop that. But then again, who can stop the Warriors and vice versa? And you said potentially Memphis. I know some other pundits have said Memphis. So I think, like we always say, matchups matter. I think all those games are down to the wire, high octane. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Jokic with some help. So I like that. I like Memphis. I think Memphis, like to what you said, Ralph, was coming in and everyone with them was expectation, right? Now that you have expectation, and so I learned from the Hawks last year. That's why I put them lower on my list, not because I didn't think they weren't talented, but I was like, due to the fact that expectation, I don't want to. And people's like, are you dissing John? I'm like, no. I said expectation for a team as a whole, and being without Jaren Jackson Jr. for the first 2-3 months or whatever. I was thinking now he's actually back. Or shout out to him. That would slip them down, and they would wind up being a juggernaut as a lower seed. But to see Jaren Jackson come back and average like what 3 blocks a game, bro, and 19 points or whatever, like I like Memphis. Don't I would not bet against them. I would not bet against them. I like what you said about Memphis. Yeah.
so on to the next, our guy Lamar Jackson. I guess you can say vulgar tweets because I
Yeah.
hate. And this is the part that had me like fuming.
Mm-hmm.
It's like don't just because he used a certain language,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm gonna say the quote once I find it. If you don't already have the exact quote or the
Mm-hmm.
exact tweet, but
Yeah.
like just because he used certain language, they just automatically say it's anti-gay, and it's like, wait a minute, bro, don't do that
Yeah.
because that's irresponsible to just throw somebody under the bus, which goes back to my point with Kyrie.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to find it.
I was looking at the article, but it was about the 250. They mentioned his 250 million contract, not paying him. The Ravens essentially the user had said, let him walking like build a real like team around or like a with value whatever. And Lamar Jackson fired back and said eat a bleep and blah blah blah. Or no, he said all you do is eat bleep and all you do is cap on here, et cetera, and all this other kind of stuff. And first and foremost, I want to say I agree with you, Ralph. It wasn't anti-homophobic. I actually know some of my friends who are actually homosexuals who are like that's not anti whatever. So there we go. But I again, that's my base, and also it's just it's expression, slang, whatever, etc. And
Right.
people know that, and so that's what I don't like about it. And Lamar actually, I don't know if you saw, he replied back to Jameson Hensley, who's a reporter who actually reports with the Ravens. So, and he said, "You're trying to defame my character, blah blah blah, and all that kind of stuff." And I also want to say real quick to stay on topic. Shout out to the kid Gowie. He actually made a video talking about all these hit pieces and slander pieces that'll come out with Lamar Jackson since his contract year during his contract year. But that's a whole nother situation. And
Right.
so you can kind of see through the BS. But do I have a problem with the tweet? I don't have a problem with Lamar Jackson expressing his feelings, but I do believe there's a level of professionalism, a level of class that you're supposed to have as a professional athlete, also as a franchise quarterback. So I believe that I personally wouldn't have said anything or whatever on Twitter sphere, on the Twitter space, especially in this climate. And so with that, he has to be wiser, he has to be smarter um, in that regard. Do I believe that it will have any effect in his contract situation? I understand why some people may think that. We talked about that briefly. No, I don't, because I already believe that they're already screwing him over. I'm not the only one who believes that. Josh Allen, Von Miller has spoken about it. Michael Vick spoke about it on Club Shay Shay, and Shannon Sharp's like, why didn't you pay him in 2019? All you have professional athletes who are like, why aren't you paying the dude, bro? Like, what more did you need to actually see? Winning the Super Bowl is a team accomplishment, and you have quarterbacks who've done less, Kirk Cousins, who got laid 40 points on, you know what I'm saying, could only muster 3 points in a game and is making more than Lamar Jackson in guaranteed money. So Lamar, does he have certain deficiencies in overthrowing at times and missing some of those receivers? Yes, but that's about it. He put the team on his back last week, right? And the defense wound up failing him yet again. The receivers, 10 drops in the game. That's ridiculous. Demarcus Robinson, you know him very well. He got cut by the Chiefs, fourth leading receiver, and now he's the number one receiver on the Ravens. We had Willie Snead. No disrespect to Snead, but he's not, not like that. The corpse of Dez Bryant. Past his prime, Deshaun Jackson, who we like, but past his prime when you look at all these other quarterbacks with weapons and stuff like that. So I think that I bring that up because the tweet, I believe, is frustration with Greg Roman, the offensive system, receivers dropping passes, Lamar constantly clapping his hands at the line, being like, snap the ball, snap the ball. That's like, yo, what is going on? Plays aren't getting called quickly from the coordination, and we have injuries as well. He's without Bateman. You trade away Hollywood, which, he didn't want him to leave, by the way, but you never replaced Hollywood with anybody. So I feel like all this stuff is swelling up, plus the contract situation. Yeah, it's okay to say the contract situation is bothering him. We're human. It's okay. It's okay to be like that, Lamar. You know what I'm saying? But so I think that's where the tweet came from. I think all this stuff compiled back because they say hurt dogs holler, hit dogs holler, and I think he was frustrated after a loss. That's why he cursed in the at the podium, which you usually don't hear him curse, and he fired back the Twitter user. But he just has to be more cognizant, Ralph. I think of just how you reply on social media. So, yeah.
And to go to a point I was trying to make to my brother earlier, it's there's a this is where I think it's a problem where you start to mix like culture
Mm-hmm.
with your job in a sense, because me talking to you, we know the lingo, we know the slang, we know what these words exactly mean.
Right.
Then you bring that into a setting to where someone outside of that culture could take it a certain way. I never looked at that and read that tweet and thought, "Oh, he gonna get in trouble for saying." Like when I heard Anthony Edwards when he did the video and he was talking and he's saying like something about these queers, I was like, "Well, he gonna get in trouble."
Yeah.
Yeah, he definitely put himself in a situation where he gonna get in trouble. So, like, do I have an issue with what was said? No, but as a 33-year-old black man talking to someone that is 25 to 26, I'm not. I think Lamar's in that age range.
Yeah, he's 25. Yeah.
Put yourself out of that situation and take yourself out of it because that's a situation you can find yourself that's gonna mess up your brain. And in a contract year, you never want to do anything that's gonna mess up the cheddar.
Yeah.
And so, to answer the question for the itself, do I have a problem with his tweet? Yes, I do, but I don't have a problem with him answering back to fans. I have a problem with the manner in which he chose to answer this fan. Because honestly, I don't think it's such a bad thing to not want. Because you got to think about like the Packers.
Mm-hmm.
they're in a position where they didn't give Aaron Rodgers all his bread. But then Jordan Love came in and didn't really look much worse
Yeah.
than Aaron Rodgers looked.
Yeah, I noticed that.
But you didn't already gave this man all his bread. So like now what you gonna do? Are you gonna release him? Are you gonna trade him? Now you
Mhm.
kind of like stuck with him to a certain degree where you might have your quarterback in the future.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
Jordan Love from 2 years ago versus the one we just saw on Monday, he looked like a whole other quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
so I think that it's one of those things where you don't want to do anything that messes up your bread. Don't put yourself in that situation. Shannon Sharp said, give yourself 30 minutes
I heard that. I
to
heard.
talk to the press. Give yourself 24 hours before you go talk
Mhm.
on Twitter.
That was great advice from Shannon Sharp. So I got to shout out him for that because that was real. I hope Lamar actually heard that because that was actually a good piece of advice. Either that or just you got to stay off it. Because some athletes, Ralph, before we move on, they actually they do a social media fast during the season. You
Right.
know, be like Kawhi Leonard, just don't exist on social media, man.
And the homie said, don't do Kirk like that. Don't do cousin
Hey,
Kirk like that.
hey, hey, different tier quarterback, man. But we get it. I'm just being real. I'm not gonna. He's a different tier quarterback. I'm sorry, bro.
But on to the next one. We brought it up earlier. Dion has been offered. It's officially can confirm. Colorado has offered Deion Sanders, Coach Prime, a job offer. Should he take it?
In the words of the rapper Vado from New York, shout out to Vado, man. He should never take the first offer the judge offers you. But anyway, no. Respectfully, he can do it. That's a good unit over there. It's a good unit over there. Um, I'm gonna say no. Here's why. Here's why, guys. Hear me out. Here's me out. I like what he has going on at Jackson State. I really do. I love what he has going on at Jackson State. The only reason why, Ralph, I say no is only because I would like to see what other offers he has.
Right.
I feel like we as the general public have not been privy to the other offers that he has because Deion Sanders in his own interview he mentioned that he had other offers, right? And so I think we'd be naive or be foolish to think um,
It's great, OG.
for in my opinion, in my opinion, I believe that he should actually wait it out until the end of the season. I don't think you should take any type of offer. Yep, we have someone that said no. There we go. And I want to see what else he can actually be offered, man. Like I'm just personally, if it was me, I know I'm not prime time, Coach Prime. I gotta call him Coach Prime. I'm not taking the job off the
Yeah,
bat.
no, bro. Like,
This is like, come on, man.
no, I would not. One, it's Colorado. No disrespect to the people
Mhm.
out there in Boulder. They actually have a rich football history. They got a Heisman winner.
We got some nice places in Colorado too, by the way. Some nice
Yeah,
sceneries
like
if you're into that. Yeah.
Cordell Stewart
Mm-hmm.
played there and did his thing.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, you got to think if someone like Colorado was willing to give him an offer,
Right.
and I don't really not to say that like to throw any shade toward Colorado, but I don't really think that like why would I leave Jackson State to go there?
Mm-hmm.
It's technically it is a Power Five school, but at the same time, like it's not really that someone as good as a Coach Prime deserves to be at. He deserved an opportunity to get that Auburn job. He deserved an opportunity to get that Florida State job. Like he deserves a school of that echelon to where that type of money and resources he could put into building a program. And I
Right.
think that although I think regardless of where he goes, he's going to make it work and he's going to do a heck of a job as a football coach over there. But I just don't like that. One, you don't take that first offer,
Mm-hmm.
and two, I want to see what else he got to go. I would much rather him go there.
He said nobody took it. But that's what we were saying. I said, hey, I ain't taking that offer. I said
Yeah,
it.
nah,
So I'm
nah.
cool.
They do have like there's some football history there, but no, I'm not going there. Like at the end of the day, like
Hey, Colorado's that team on like NCAA football when that comes back. I heard about that, but it's like that team you take and try to win a championship with just because it's in the virtual world, not the real world.
right, for real. Those are facts. But now I definitely think that like he should definitely see what his offers are
Yeah.
and wait because I think that he could do more. It would be better for the culture for him to stay with Jackson State than to take an
Mhm.
opportunity with like the likes of a Colorado.
Okay.
But with the rest of the time we got the NBA power rankings. It's some teams are on the up and up, some teams is on the down and down.
Mm-hmm.
But you know me, I like to go starting from the bottom. Now we here.
Start from the bottom while you're here. Can I please get my notes? Someone hand me my notes, please, for my list. Let me get my list
And,
because I
and,
already
and
know
at
who
the
I had at
10th
10.
spot, man, I'm a little torn
Mm-hmm.
because I want to put the Pelicans in there,
Okay.
but the Warriors are playing better.
Mm-hmm.
So
I'm gonna let you go first because I literally have mine right here. I'm trying to minimize the screen so it's not blocking me. I have all
you
my
know what?
teams.
I'm gonna put the Pelicans in at 10
Okay.
because
There we go.
I moved someone completely out of my power rankings.
All right. So you got them at 10. Okay.
So I got the Pelicans in at 10
Mm-hmm.
at a 10-8 record, five in offensive efficiency, six in defensive efficiency, and fourth in net rating. But the record just doesn't show you how good of a team they are yet. Which me and you will both agree. I think they're a top 16. And when it's all said and done, I think they're going to end up being a top 16. But I just currently, as we speak, the record just doesn't prove how I feel about them. So I got them at 10. And then spoiler alert, I'm taking the Jazz completely out of the power ranking
Okay.
and throwing the Warriors in at 9. They're on a 3-game winning streak.
Mm-hmm.
The record isn't far off between the Pelicans and the Jazz. They're coming in at 11 and 10, but they're second in pace. They're out middle of the pack in the net rating, but the way that they've been playing over these last 3 to 4 games moves them up in my power ranking.
Okay, so I like both those picks, both those teams. I actually believe that the bottom three is kind of they're all interchangeable, actually, in my personal opinion. But I believe ultimately there's a team that trumps them. But for the sake of it's all about right, kind of like what right now. And I looked at defense, I looked at offense. I also looked at injuries. Right, I think there's been injuries with the bottom three teams for my top 10. So at number 10, I actually have the Portland Trailblazers at 11-9. They also have a 500 record. Right, they started off the season on fire with Damian Lillard playing very well. However, they're 1-3 on the East Coast. They made a trip out to the East Coast and they are 1-3. But we have to remember that Damian Lillard has been out with the right soleus strain, and GP2 Gary Payton III. His defensive presence has yet to been felt because he has yet to play due to recovering from surgery. And they're 1-5 in their last 6 games. They beat the Knicks, who are 9-11. Defensively, they leave a lot to be desired. Jeremy Grant, he's been stepping up, but I got to have the Trailblazers at 10 because I believe I have to award what Dame was able to do thus far this season prior to his injury and Coach Chauncey Billups. So I got them at number 10. At number 9, I have the Warriors at 11-10. We touched on them briefly. With once their chemistry and camaraderie is seemingly coming back together. Klay Thompson, the comment that Charles Barkley made. He's been playing well, 21 points per game, 4 rebounds per game, 44% from the field, respectable, 46% from three. He's a sniper. He had that 40-point game at Houston. Steph Curry's playing at a peak level yet again, like the top 10 NBA player that he is. So we got that. So I got the Warriors at number 9. So I'll let you rattle off your next two or three.
And then who you got at 8?
So 8, I had the Pelicans. At the 8, I had the Pelicans. They're top 10 offensively, top 10 defensively. Zion Williamson had I believe it was like a 23 8-8 game that I saw last night. They had they're kind of struggling in the paint. They need to shore that up. Defense is always going to be kind of the theme with the Pelicans going into this season that we talked about. But if they can get their defense playing good, Ralph, I think they're going to be a force because they're my conference final pick. And I like Herb Jones. Shout out to Herb Jones now. Herb Jones has been doing his thing, hitting that three ball. So I got the Pelicans at 12-8 as my number 18.
And what you got at 7?
So at 7, I got your Grizzlies, your Memphis Grizzlies. Jaren Jackson Jr. Over the last 5 games, averaging 19.6 rebounds, 3.2 blocks. John Morant, their ability to be able to win games, even when John Morant, has been out. We know what he does in the paint. Him and Giannis being able to attack the paint at a high level. They have another guy. I forgot his name. He's a second year guy, tall, skinny dude. I kind of say he looked like Peja Stojakovic. What's his name? But he's no, he's a tall, lanky dude, like 6'10", 6'11". Who he had that dunk in the Knicks game. Like this is early in the season, but he's been hooping. Like they just have really good guys, and Desmond Bane is out, so that's why I said all this is kind of interchangeable because we had Baines out, we had Zion miss games, we had some other guys in the Warriors miss games, right? So 10 through 8, even 7. I think is interchangeable, but I got to go with Ja because Ja was in the MVP race. So I got the Grizzlies at 12-8. I think they're cut above these other teams, with the exception like the Warriors.
Right.
Okay, go ahead.
So I got the Blazers at 8, man. For everything that you said, Dame, you have a 2-headed monster.
Mm-hmm.
Grant coming in as to make it a big 3. You got Nurkic who's going to set a hard screen, a big body, and then you just have. You got a GP2 who's coming off an injury that you're waiting to get back. You got a Chauncey Billups who's a great young head coach. So I think that they have something to build here from, and they've been playing well, even when Dame leaves the lineup.
Right.
And so I think that one of the things for them when it comes to their future is, can Dame perform when you need it? Because if they get to the playoffs, they're gonna need Dame to go to possibly be that
average 40.
To average, you're gonna have to average 30 to 40 points a game.
Yeah.
In order for them to get to anywhere in that conference. Next up, I agree with you. The Grizzlies, 100%. I got them. For every reason that you said, Ja Morant, who is, and I just realized I left out a topic. I just bringing up Ja Morant made me realize I left out the who would you start your franchise with?
Oh yeah,
we'll talk about that next week. We'll talk about that next week.
Yeah. Oh man.
But when you have someone like a Ja Morant who can be your spearhead, then you got a Dylan Brooks, a Desmond Bane, a Jaren Jackson. Well, now you're losing Desmond Bane, and you got the next man up, and they just hooping, man. It doesn't matter because even when Ja steps out, they step up, and they play well. And so I think that team itself and the next team that I'm going to mention, the 76ers, for the same exact reason, you lose a Joel Embiid, you lose James Harden, and you don't even have a Tyrese Maxey, and you're able to get victories against the Nets. They've been able to win a few times during this week, during the course of this week. Tobias Harris stepping up. And he even said it himself, like, I know going into the game I'm going to get my touches. And he's an amazing offensive threat. So for him to be your fourth option is one of those things where, like, you have an embarrassment of riches. And so I think that's what's at 8. Was the Blazers 7? Was the Grizzlies? Sixers at 6.
Okay. Yeah,
you're
right.
And then I got the Nuggets at 5. This right here is kind of like these next 3 teams. You kind of split the hairs to a certain degree.
Yeah.
I kind of went based on, I looked at a couple of different power rankings and kind of just went based off of how everybody else was feeling.
Right.
Which is one of the reasons I want to get the league pass so I can form my own opinion.
Exactly.
But from what I've seen, the Nuggets, I don't really see the Nuggets. I don't have a problem with the Nuggets being at 5. I can see them as high as 3.
Mhm.
But I just think those top two teams are clear cut. These are the best two teams in the league. But Nuggets at 5, you get Murray back. What's old boy? What's it? Highland.
Yeah,
Uh,
Bones. He's like their sixth man. Who I had. He was my sixth man of the year candidate.
you got him coming
Um,
off the bench and hooping. You got an Eric Gordon.
Bruce
Uh,
Brown. Bruce Brown.
you got Joker leading the pack, and they're just playing well right now. I think they got a really deep team. I just personally feel like it's gonna their thing is gonna come down to
Health.
health and
Hmm.
coaching.
Oh yeah.
Cam Malone out coach. Steve Kerr
Curry.
can be out coach.
Yeah.
Because I still think the cream of the crop is the Grizzlies.
Yeah.
And then after
Monty
that,
Williams and all those other coaches
right,
and all
right.
that. Yeah.
So you up, bro?
Yeah. Okay. So we agree on the Grizzlies at 7. I had the 76ers at 6 and the Nuggets at 5. The 76ers are 12-9. They had a little 3-game win streak. Remember, James Harden has been out, but also we think about not only when we talk about players being out, thinking about what he was doing. I think he was averaging like 22, 10, and 7, something along those lines. Embiid a couple of weeks ago had that amazing 59-point performance where he's able to score in the high post, able to score in the low post, right? But the fact that he had to carry the offense so much gave me some cause to pause, but they do have some depth there. Tobias Harris is now regulated as their 4th offensive option. Um, so yeah, once they get healthy, they're only going to continue to rise. Nuggets at 13-7. Jokic, he was on that 3-game absence due to health and safety protocols, but he came back, had a 30-point triple double against the Pistons. Michael Porter Jr. has missed the last 3 games with a heel injury. So here we go with Michael Porter Jr. His injuries, man. People keep asking me like, "Hey, they gave your boy that contract," but I like him when he's there. He's there. But their team fits. Their pieces fit together. And shout out to Bruce Brown stepping up on the offensive end as well. So that's my 5. I'll hit you with my 4 and my 3, and then we can do our last 2 for the sake of time. My 4, the Suns. I actually have the Suns at number 4, 14-6. CP3. Man, he should just load manage during the season. I would load manage CP3. I'm not really for all that, like you should miss games, but for him, he should just load manage. Right heel soreness. They're a team that DeAndre Ayton, we had questions about his chemistry, but he's been balling. Devin Booker balling. We talk about stars of the league. They did have some issues on the road. I think they lost like 3 times on the road in a row, but they're still a team that I think is going to be there. And then my third team was the Cavs. I have the Cavs over the Suns. This is a team that I continue to say I believe they match up very well with Milwaukee, with the exception of going up against Giannis, being able to prevent Giannis. But I like what Evan Mobley's able to do. They also beat the Boston Celtics, I believe, twice so far this season. I think they played twice, but they have 2 double-digit losses against the Bucks, the team I have ahead of them. But they won 5 of their last 8 games. They're top 10 in defensive efficiency. Donovan Mitchell has given them that juice that they needed scoring, and also Darius Garland. So, what are your last 2? And then I'll give you my last 2. We might agree on the last 2 or last 3. Excuse me, 4 or 3, whatever.
So I flip flop. I got the Cavs at 4.
Okay.
Suns have a better record.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just gonna give it to the Suns as far as putting them at 3.
I reckon. Okay.
But I got the Cavs, man. You got 3 people that could go off for 30. One of them coming off the bench. You have a rim protector,
Yep.
Kevin Love. You got just I think they have a deep team, but it's very top heavy. But also when you have like a Karis LeVert coming off the bench who can close out the game for you.
Yeah.
It just kind of gives you, like I mentioned with some of these other teams, it gives you an embarrassment of riches. And you got JB Bickerstaff who out there just coaching up the troops. So then you got the Suns after that. Monty Williams, same thing. I agree with you when it comes to CP3. He has shown the tire in the playoffs. So for me,
Yeah.
rest up OG and let Devin Booker do what he do. And like this is one of those things that like when it comes to Devin Booker, it's not like I'm saying that he's not a good player or whatnot. It's just one of those things that like I do think he's slightly overrated to a certain degree, but at the same time, he balls, bro.
Can you go block for Glock with like a Kawhi Leonard or someone like
yeah,
that?
that's the one thing he got to show. Because when it came to Luka, he looked like he froze up.
Yeah.
When it really truly mattered. And then I think we got the same two teams, bro. Like
Yeah.
the Bucks at 2.
Yep.
Celtics at 1.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that they're the cream of the crop. It's crazy that they're in the same division or same conference, so it sucks. They're gonna play each other, and the winner of that is who I think is gonna end up winning the finals.
Oh yeah. No. Yeah. I think yeah. I'll end it with this. Yeah, I think that's going to be. It's a weird matchup because we don't know seeding. I think. What it would be was whoever wins that series. I agree. They're going to be in the finals. Yeah, you're right. I was thinking the Eastern Conference because I was like they might wind up having to play in the second round. But you said finals like NBA finals because they might wind up playing in the second round. If they're the 1-2 seed, they would have to play in the second round, not the conference finals, I believe. So I believe we're gonna get a Cavs. It's early. I believe we're gonna get a Cavs versus Bucks conference finals, a rematch of 5 years ago. Because there's a trend. Shout out to Jalen Rose. He said if you look at the Eastern Conference, Ralph, since LeBron left, it's been alternating, right? And I saw a trend that every other year the Celtics have made it, right? And then in between you had like the Heat every other year with the Bucks were like that 1 year. Right, and you had the Cavs that 1 year. So the trend actually shows that the Celtics already made it. So that mean they would lose. The Bucks would make it this time, and they would have to play one of those teams. And I think the Cavs have more. They don't have dysfunction like the other teams. With Embiid getting hurt, Harden disappearing because Embiid lacerated his face last year, and then the Nets, who we like their talent. When they talked about all the dysfunction they showed on that Inside the NBA, I was like, yo, they just got too much going on, man. You know, but they'll be in the playoffs. They'll roll some heads. So I agree with you. The West, who knows? Outside the Warriors and the Grizzlies. So we'll see. All right, man.
So let us know what you think about power rankings. But outside of that, peace out. We got to get out of here. We went over on time, but it is what it is. We appreciate you all for watching, reacting, and commenting. Make sure you like, subscribe on Facebook and YouTube. Just type in the He Say, She Say, all one word channel. And we're out of here. Peace out.
Peace.